the junk and all the stuff that we did to it. We've reset it to get it right, to where it was working like it was supposed to. So why do we need to do this with our souls then? Because after all, the book is called Soul Reset. Well, let's be honest. We're busy people, aren't we? We are busy people. Honestly, too busy. Too focused on the unimportant to recognize what is actually important. Eunice Dotson said, "I've heard that the number one cause of stress is incongruent values, not being authentic, not living out what you think is truly important. If you think following Jesus is important, but your life doesn't have any room for him, any room for time with him, things might start to feel forced and burdensome. And that's stressful." So this is what we're talking about when we talk about describing a living in abundance. Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven." Seek God first, and all the things, all those other things will be added unto us. And we've got to seek God first in order to really live the unforced rhythms of spiritual life. We talk about physical health, right? We have all those different shots you can get now, right? You can lose weight. And we have so many different programs. We have gyms. We have all these things that are about physical health, right? Everybody's pushed for that. And eating right. And I mean, I'm diabetic, and I have an app on my phone that keeps track of my blood sugar and everything. So I can say healthy. I even have Google Health on mine that hooks up to my Fitbit watch, right? Where even I can get obsessed with physical health. And we've done this for years, it seems like. But within the last few years, we've started taking notice of mental and emotional health concerns. Now, understand, I am not talking about clinical depression or clinical anxiety. That's something separate. That requires serious work with doctors and counselors and sometimes medication. But this other stuff, the things that we bring onto ourselves, we've started to even take more notice of that as well, right? But I'll be completely honest, I don't think we take enough notice of our spiritual health. We don't recognize our soul. We haven't looked at our soul really and truthfully and thought about, is my soul healthy? How many of you have ever asked that of yourselves? No, you don't, right? Why would you? Right? Because it's not really a tangible thing. And how do you measure that? And the scripture from this morning, I think, can actually be read or heard a little better from the Message translation. Now, I don't use the Message translation very often, but I will tell you I like the way it said it. So this is from the Message translation. "Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me." Very simple. Very basic. Now understand, I'm talking about religion and not faith. Those are two different things. They are very much two different things. John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, knew the importance of spiritual health. He knew how important a healthy soul gets. He knew people got tired, they got worn out, they'd even get burned out on religion. And in the 18th century, he'd gather people together in what were called class meetings. And we're actually within the United Methodist Church, there's been a resurgence of class meetings, this whole idea. And so these were groups of 8 to 10 people. They were not huge groups at all. And they would meet once a week without fail. They would, every week they would meet. And he would ask this very, very important question, and he was known for it, actually. How is it with your soul? Now, these groups, they weren't Bible studies, though. They weren't Bible studies. A class meeting was not a Bible study. It wasn't a social gathering either. They were designed for spiritual accountability, support, and growth. In fact, it was so important that if you did not show up for your scheduled meeting, the whole class would come and get you. They would look for you. Because, again, the importance of your spiritual health. It's vitally important. I have a group I meet with. It's a group of pastors, and we meet via Zoom every week. Now, I will be honest, there are times we don't meet. I mean, I like to say we're importantly busy, but sometimes we're not. Sometimes a pastor has a funeral or something else happening, and we get it. But the thing is, again, John Wesley knew how important a healthy soul was. You see, he knew that if one of your sides, your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual sides, were sick, they were all sick because they were all connected. But I'll be honest, we continue to ignore the spiritual. We push and push and push without slowing down. Now, I have mentioned before, at the beginning of this year, I kind of stepped back from it, but I used to be what was called a district shepherd. So I had a number of churches that were under me. I would supervise them and make sure they had all the stuff done. And not only would I talk to the church members, but I would specifically focus on the pastors. And I would ask them, how is it with your soul? Now, can anybody guess how most of them responded? Because I don't know. That was a good one. That was a good one. Fine. That was another good response. But what really bugged me, because I would tell them, don't ever say this to me. They would say, well, the church is doing this and this and this. I said, no. That's great. I don't care. I'm asking about your soul. How is your soul? Your soul and your church are two different things. I want to know about you. Because, just like I said, when your physical, mental, and emotional and spiritual are sick, it doesn't work. And that includes for the leader as well. If the leader is sick, you can be contagious. You can make others sick. So I made a point of making sure our pastors took a Sabbath day. They took a day, because if you didn't know it, Sunday is not our Sabbath day. Sunday is the only day of the week we work. And so it's understanding that even pastors, and that includes anybody who's in ministry, you need to take time for yourself. So, like Lori and Tara, they play music. They need to make sure that they have a rest day, though, too. Because today is a work day. The same goes for Wayne. Today is a work day. And so understanding that we need to take care of our souls. We need to take breaks. And it's not just a vacation day. It's about reconnecting with God. Taking time to say, okay, God, I'm ready to listen. Which is really sad that we need to give God time, right? It's really sad that we have to say, God, I've been busy all week, but I'm ready to listen now. You can talk now. All right? But it's true. We do that. And here's the thing we need to take notice of. How many of you think that you're better than Jesus? Anybody? Because, I think we might have to gang up on you if you say you are. But the point I want to make is Jesus himself took time to rest. Jesus had to reset his soul, his connection with God. Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness to fast and pray before he started his public work. Jesus woke up while it was still dark and went for a quiet place to pray. Mark 1:35. After feeding the crowds, Jesus sent the people away, and he went up on the mountain by himself to pray into the evening, Matthew 14:23. Before choosing his disciples, Jesus spent the whole night praying to God on a mountain before he chose the 12 disciples, Luke 6:12-13. Before Jesus was arrested, he went to a quiet garden and prayed alone before he was arrested. And that's just a sampling of the times that Jesus rested, that Jesus reset his soul. And this is a being that was fully human and fully God, and even he took time off. And we are very much not as good as Jesus. So all the more reason that we need to reset our souls. If Jesus needed it, how can we be so arrogant to think that we don't? And here's the thing, we don't have time to waste. We don't have time to say, I'll get to it later. It's very interesting to me when I talk to a couple, and it's like I'll do marriage counseling, or I'll be talking about their kids, or the fact that they're pregnant, and what the future is going to hold. And when you have a couple that I'm doing marriage counseling with, and they said, well, we thought we'd start coming to church now that we're married. Or we thought we'd start coming to church once our kids are born. Anybody ever said that? But they're waiting till it's convenient. Which, let's be honest, getting married and having kids is not always a very convenient thing. We can't wait, though. We don't have time to wait to reset our soul. Because all that's going to happen is we're going to get more errors added up. I used to work on computers. And I would love when people would say, can you work on my computer? And they would have all these viruses and problems. And they said, yeah, it's been going on for a little while, but it really started a problem now. Well, if you had called me earlier, we could have fixed it before it got really bad. But that's what we're doing. When we keep putting it off, when we keep putting off the reset, we're just compounding it. I remember working at a computer shop, and people would bring in their computers, those towers. Do you remember those? Can you clean out? And my computer is running rough, is usually what we would get. And I'd open it up, and there would be dust. Thick dust. It was so bad, I would take it to our parking lot and blow it out. Because it would cover the entire store if I had not. I'd turn it on, it was running great. But it had all that junk, all that stuff piling up. You see, we don't have time to waste. Jesus didn't wait until it was convenient. He did it when it was needed. And we have to do the same. Our faith shouldn't be about waiting until we get ourselves together, get everything just right, or retire, because honestly, that's probably too late. It should be about right now. Doing it right now. It should be about experiencing the best God has for us here, right now. And one way we can live fully is by taking time to remember our why. The essence, the core, the thing that drives us and brings us passion. Remembering your why is about getting in touch with what drives you. We all have to take moments in our lives to pause, to stop, and do an honest assessment and ask ourselves, where am I right now, and how is it with my soul? Now, granted, you don't have to have the answer right away. In fact, you probably won't, because remember how I talked about that stuff building up? It takes a while for that dust to get blown off. And so we start working on it. And we can't answer it with a fine or an I don't know. That doesn't work. We have to explore it in a deeper and honest way. So I'm going to do something a little different this time. every week there's going to be a spiritual practice I'm going to share with you. Again, if you read it at the end of the book, did you put your... Oh, okay. But there's a spiritual practice, and it's at the end of the book, every chapter. Again, this is such a phenomenal book. Actually, the author has since passed away, but it's a great book. And again, we're doing a book study on it starting tomorrow night. And even if you didn't read the book, you can show up and we can discuss it. But I really, really, really want you to read the book. But there's going to be 2 challenges throughout this as we do this. The first one is a challenge, just a one-sentence challenge. Ask yourself honestly, how is it with your soul? Now that's an easy one. That's an easy one. The other one requires time. We hate things that take time, don't we? We hate things that make us busy. So there is one. It's called the Prayer of Examen. And it helps us notice God's presence, our connection, and our discernment of the will of God. This comes from Ignatius of Loyola. It's a daily inward practice and reflection. So, we seek God in daily life, recognizing moments of closeness, consolation, and disconnection, desolation. So we're going to try this right here in service. I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute after each one of these questions. I want you to close your eyes and consider this question. And then once I've completed the question, I'll start the timer for 1 minute. Here we go. What is bringing you joy these days? Okay. Our next question. What is bringing you a sense of burden these days? Last question. What is God saying to you about making a soul reset? you get any insight other than maybe how long a minute is? Seems like a long time when you have to keep your eyes closed and think about something, isn't it? I just ask you to spend 3 minutes with God. And I can guarantee you, pretty much all of you thought, that was a long time. Why is 3 minutes so long for God? Now, believe me, I get it, because I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm busy. I'll pray to God when I get a chance, when it's convenient. But again, that's not the point. So I ask you to just consider those. And the questions and this information I will actually post on Facebook, on the church Facebook page, so that you'll be able to re-examine those. But again, it's at the end of the chapters, so you can check it out there as well. So with that, let's bow our heads.